Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Billy Bob Space Trucker and is part of a series. If you're new to this series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Dr. Goldsmith shook his head slowly as he looked over the data he'd obtained from scanning Billy Bob. These Americans were crazy. Their density, their composition. He found no less than 6 chemical or elements in their makeup that would kill most species. Their levels of sodium were off the charts. You couldn't believe how much alcohol their bodies seemed ready to process. 2 or 3% alcohol solutions were more than enough to get many species drunk. But according to his research, American alcoholic beverages didn't start until something like 4 to 5%. Not only that, but they carbonated it. Sure, Libertonians like Emily had high tolerances as well. So it wasn't unique, but it was certainly rare. The fact that they had drinks of over 50% alcohol was unheard of. He was preparing a report to send to a greater black market network that was run by his people, the Banktiers, when he was interrupted by a nurse. "Dr. Goldsmith, you need to come deal with this." He got up hurriedly, scurrying after the nurse to find a Vikesh standing in the waiting room of the clinic. His face looked scarred, but had clearly been treated by some biogel. He had a weapon in his hand and a military-grade shield belt. His bearing marked him as one of the clans who had assaulted the station, but he didn't look threatening. Instead, he looked worried. "What's this all about?" The Vikesh snapped to attention. "My life has been spared by the great Billy Bob. He has seen fit to save me from the third death bowl mittens. He has tasked me with serving the station as protector and guardian until the end of my days." He paused and then looked at Dr. Goldsmith as if something would happen, but Goldsmith looked around the room and then back. "Well, what do you want from me?" The Vikesh looked a little nervous. I was hoping that you could tell me how to do that. I was just a private. My kin have fled. The guards told me that you'd been seeing the great Billy Bob." Dr. Goldsmith blinked for a moment. "He didn't tell you what to do?" "Only that I guard and protect this place with my life. I owe him a true Vikesh soul debt, and must keep it." Goldsmith blinked at that once more. Billy Bob had gotten a Vikesh to swear a soul debt and abandoned search for his battle brothers. Was there no end to the amazing things that a human could accomplish? He must truly be some sort of elite warrior and pilot of his people. He smiled up at the Vikesh. "Yes, come with me. We'll get you set up in Central." The Vikesh visibly sagged with relief as he bowed his horns in thanks. "I will not disappoint the great Billy Bob." Goldsmith smiled, leading the Vikesh along behind him as they walked to the Central Command station. They were cleaning up still, especially since their CEO had been killed by that evil. What had Billy Bob called it? An evil space clown? Having done a bit of research into humanities, that term seemed appropriate, but it just confused him on why humans had such terrifying children's entertainers. Either way, the 4-armed insectoid ants, who the Bentons hired as guards, fluttered a little in the presence of a Vikesh, clutching their energy weapons tight. But Goldsmith waved them off and rode the elevator up to his new charge. As he stepped out into the command center, he could see the remaining board of operators had all assembled to fill in positions on the station left by the dead kin. But they weren't in the frenzy vote at the moment. They were huddled around a communications terminal. "What's going on?" he asked as he approached. "Bad news, Doctor. The Galactic Secret Service is here." "What? The crustaceans? Why?" "They've issued a level 1 warrant for the arrest of the terrorist they think is on our station." "Well, just hand them over. We don't want trouble with them." "That's the problem. They don't want a normal client, or even one of our own." Goldsmith gulped, fearing he knew what was next. But he had to ask. "Then, who do they want?" "They've ordered the arrest and capture of Billy Bob, Space Trucker." There was a little chime in the cabin as Billy Bob looked at his calendar and laughed. "Oh crap, look at that. It's Arcanist Day, Emily. Grab me a beer. Gotta celebrate." Emily arched a brow but walked back to the fridge, returning with 2 beers. Billy Bob cracked his open and laughed, lifting it up as she said, "Humanity, feck yeah." Then he began to drink. Emily, on the other hand, just chuckled and quickly opened a tap while biting the side of the can to slurp it dry. "What's this about?" she asked after crushing the can on her skull.
"Oh, it's Arcanist Day back on Earth. Some old human leader rallied a bunch of people around that cry as we started our first steps into colonizing our solar system," he nodded.
"You celebrate with a drink?"
"Well, I gotta keep driving. Normally we'd celebrate it by getting drunk."
"What about other human holidays?"
The next one we dress up, eat candy, and get drunk. Then Vets Day, where we celebrate soldiers by drinking and grilling stuff. After that, we get together with family, have a feast, and get drunk. After that, we get together with family again, exchange presents, and, get drunk. Then it's getting drunk to celebrate a new year. Then, we get drunk with people we want to feck and eat chocolate. Then we grill meat and get drunk to celebrate the presidents. Oh, crap. Then it's a week of getting drunk because of voodoo in New Orleans and lots of tits for that one. Then we get drunk because of Ireland. Then we get up early and have a nice brunch and get just a little bit drunk while eating chocolate eggs." He nodded for a moment as he looked thoughtful, trying to remember everything. "Then we get drunk Mexican style because, for some reason. 'Cause we want to mostly. Something about France, maybe. Then we have Memorial's Day, where we remember those who fought and died for us. More serious, but drinking is often involved. Then we have a day celebrating how awesome our flag is. Drinking not required, but again, often involved." He perked up and looked even more excited. Oh, and then there's the biggest, best day of them all, Independence Day. We explode shit, drink, grill meat, and generally spend the week in a blur of celebration. He rubbed his chin. "Is that it? No. We also have a day to celebrate working by not working, and instead of getting drunk and grilling stuff." He nodded slowly. I think that's all of them."
"You get drunk for all of the holidays?"
"Yeah, mostly. Of course, I'm leaving out the sports-related holidays, because not everyone gets involved in those. We used to have one to celebrate the guy who found America, but turns out, while awesome in some senses, he was an arsehole in others. So we decided to drop it in favor of National Pizza Day, which is pretty awesome, too, if you ask me."
Emily blinked, having no idea just how much the Americans apparently drank. While her people had high tolerance overall, if they drank that much, their bodies wouldn't be able to handle it. Maybe Earth years were more spread out. She'd have to look into it. Overall, the trip with Billy Bob heading to his cargo delivery planet was pretty smooth once they left the station. Emily would sleep every few hours, and Billy Bob would listen to his music. Then, when he needed to sleep, he'd pull off, take a nap, and she'd listen to music, and then switch off again. Once he was up, and they were just 4 hours from the planet, she had been listening to quite a bit of human music. "So, this person was a monarch of popular?" No, he's the king of pop. Isn't like an official title. He was just a great musician and dancer. He wasn't even royalty. We use the term now and then. Before him was Elvis. He wasn't a monarch either. No, he was another great musician. Farted himself to death one day, I think. Emily blinked at that. And this other one? What, Jackson? We don't know. What do you mean? Decades ago, someone wiped out all the records about his life after the year 1990. Probably died and they didn't like how it ended or something. I don't know. So, were they ruled over by this, Pope of Parody? Who? Oh, Weird Al. No. Again, not a real title. Just a funny guy and another great musician. Why do you keep giving such titles to musicians? We like them? I don't know. We give titles to everyone we think deserves one. They don't mean anything, just sort of, look, we like titles, okay? She shrugged it off then, and figured that she'd just have to understand Americans better. The rest of the trip to NR3 was uneventful. They found the quiet little agri-world, and Billy Bob brought his longhorn down into the planet's atmosphere. Emily pulled her mask and hood back on to keep people from recognizing the Libertonian, but the galaxy wasn't aware they needed to be afraid of Americans yet, so Billy Bob was all right. They landed in a clearing he'd been guided to on his contract, but they didn't see signs of a town or many buildings. Either way, the planet was only half normal Earth, so he began to unload the crates from the Longhorn with minimal effort. It was a typical agri-world. No evolved natural animals bigger than his pinky, just plants. Lots and lots of plants. The colony was supposed to be near a mountain with some forested area, and then massive rolling plains of weeds.
Or maybe they weren't actually weeds, but they looked like space weeds to him.
Are you sure you should unload them? You don't know if they're still alive,
Emily asked as he started to move the crates, even though they hadn't contacted the colonists. I was paid to deliver the scrap to the spot. Not my fault if they're too dead to collect, he grunted as he was about half done with unloading. Emily sat on top of a pile of crates, looking around the area while Billy Bob finished. When the last box was out, he smiled and brushed off his hands. Well, now to go find them.
I think I see smoke in some sort that way, she said, pointing towards the base of the nearby hills. They walked through the trees, and Billy Bob noticed he didn't hear any birds or insects, which seemed wrong. To a human, that meant something evil or big and hungry was close. But some agri-worlds just didn't have those sorts of animals. They came out of the trees in a clearing of what looked like basic tents and low-level shelters. The creatures were humanoid and had shaggy hair, with long snouts ending in what looked like unkempt bears. They were wearing very basic clothes, and in general looked nothing like the colonists he was used to. They had long eyes on stalks that turned his way as he approached.
I don't like this. Their eyes are so red, and this place smells.
Oh, you're not familiar with the whole gyms. They're very peaceful herbivores, live with nature, very little impact and all that.
Billy Bob growled, Space hippies.
He pointed at one where walking towards.
You, I delivered your shit. Pay me so I can get away from your jobless dirty freaks.
Whoa, man, that's some really harsh language, man. You're harshing my buzz. Billy Bob growled at the creature as it scurried away. Just go see, like, the Peace Mother and Father in the cave. Billy Bob glared at the space hippie and walked towards the cave he saw past the settlement. He wanted to stomp, but in this gravity, he'd go flying. Once they were inside, he saw two older, fatter space hippies who smelled worse than the rest. Oh, you're the one who brought our cargo. Thank you so much. May the stupid hippie space god bless you. Like your aura's so kind.
Yeah, no, where's my payment?
What, all right. The slightly less fat but smaller of the two, he couldn't tell the males from the females apart, led him deeper into the cave. He saw the first sign of civilization, as they had some sort of metal cage around He looked at it closely. It looked like some sort of six-legged space fox, with two sets of ears the size of a German shepherd. It had a bright orange coat with black and along the feet and ears. He already had space foxes in his translator. Ah, crap. Space cat dog. That would work. The thing looked depressed. This is like our space cat dog. We brought it here to let her live a clean, vegetarian lifestyle with us. But space cat dogs are carnivores, Emily said from behind him. We think we can break them from that bad habit, man. The space hippie said.
You people make me sick,
Billy Bob growled, but he was here to get paid. The space hippie shrugged and rummaged through a box in the back before pulling out a pink crystal inlaid with some sort of wreath of vines. Turning, it handed it to Billy Bob.
The fuck is this?
That's your payment. It gives you lifelong access to any space hippie planet where you're free to share in our food and shelter. Billy Bob twitched a little, but Emily leaned in behind him, whispering, Billy Bob, that space cat dog is incredibly rare and valuable. It's worth at least 10 million credits on the open market, more to the right buyer.
My compatriot forgot something in the ship. I'll just stay here with you and your natural bounty.
He turned, giving Emily a light push.
I'll see you back in the ship, Emily. Be right behind you.
The diplomat was a bit confused, but after a moment of hesitation, turned and began to walk out of the colony. She was almost to the Longhorn when she heard shouting. Turning, she saw Billy Bob with the carnivore in his arm, running towards her in long bounding strides in a low gravity.
All again on the ship.
We got a fucking bucket. These space hippies befriended some sort of rock creatures. Go, 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 go! And so ends another chapter in the adventures of Billy Bob, Space Trucker. I'd really like to thank our T5 Patreon and channel members, Casper Arnholtz, Jon Creighton, 050, Dragzoon W.R.E, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.